It was supposed to be a relaxing summer picnic. Just the five of us. Me, Rachel, my boyfriend Brian, and our friends Lucas, Tasha, and Erin. We were college friends reuniting for the first time in 2 years. Tasha suggested Willow Creek, an old forest reserve an hour outside town. No crowds, no traffic, and it used to be beautiful, she said. It was once a popular nature spot, but a wildfire years ago had closed it down. Now it was barely a memory. Abandoned picnic tables, scorched trees, and a dirt trail leading into the woods. We arrived around noon. The air was heavy with that dry, burnt wood smell. Still, it was peaceful. We laid out blankets near the creek, opened coolers, laughed over old jokes, and played music on a Bluetooth speaker. But as the sun started dipping behind the trees, the woods got quiet. Unnaturally quiet. No birds, no rustling, no bugs. Just the trickle of the creek. And then, a faint whisper. Rachel looked at me and frowned. Did you hear that? I thought it was the wind, but it wasn't. Lucas and Brian decided to follow the old trail upstream. They wanted to explore before we packed up. The rest of us stayed back, but after 20 minutes with no sign of them, we started to worry. Then Erin gasped. Look! Figure stood in the distance, right at the edge of the woods. It looked like Brian, same jacket, same build, but he didn't move, didn't wave, just stood with his back turned to us, staring into the trees. Brian, I called out. He didn't respond. Lucas emerged moments later, alone. He never came with me, he said, breathless. He said he was going to refill the water bottle and stayed behind. We all turned back to the figure, gone. That's when we heard the splash from the creek. We rushed over. Brian was lying, half submerged on the bank, eyes wide, coughing hard like he'd nearly drowned. I don't remember how I got here, he said, shivering, but something was whispering to me in the woods, calling me by name. That night, we packed up in a hurry. The woods felt tighter, like they were pressing in. But it wasn't until we got in the car that I realized something truly wrong. There were now 6 shadows reflected in the car's windows. But only 5 of us were inside. We didn't talk much on the drive back. Brian fell asleep in the back seat, head against the window. I sat in the passenger seat, replaying every moment in my head. The silence, the whispers, the figure in the woods, the 6th shadow in the car window. That night, I dreamt of the creek again. Someone was standing in it, waist deep in the dark. Water. Their back was to me, motionless. But the water rippled toward me like it was breathing. When the figure turned, I staggered back. It was me. Same face, but distorted. Lips too wide, eyes too deep. As it smiled, I felt water start to pour from my own mouth in the dream, like I was drowning from the inside. I woke up choking on dry air. Brian called early that morning. He sounded tired, scared. I don't think I came back with you, he whispered. I've been seeing myself, in reflections, in the microwave door, the shower mirror, watching me. I tried to reassure him, but something inside me twisted. It wasn't just him. Lucas texted too. Footprints, wet, muddy, leading from the woods to my room. 2nd floor, no break-in. Even Erin mentioned her lights flickering every night at 3:12 a.m., the same time we heard the whispers at the creek. Then, last night, I found something that made my blood run cold. I was organizing the photos from the picnic. Most were normal, laughing, eating, sunlit. But then, I opened the group photo we took just before leaving. 5 of us had posed in front of the creek, yet there were 6 people in the photo. The 6th figure was in the background, just behind us in the trees, half hidden, no face. Its head was tilted at an unnatural angle, and its body was completely still, almost blurred. I zoomed in. Its shirt was identical to mine. I couldn't breathe. We never heard from Tasha after that night. She stopped responding. Her phone just rang and rang. When I drove to her place, her windows were all open, but the house was locked from the inside. The living room wall, written in something that looked like wet mud, were the words, "One of you never left." I don't think Willow Creek ever let us all leave. I think it took something from each of us and gave something back in return. And, now, it's only a matter of time before it decides who gets to stay for good. It was supposed to be a quiet Sunday. My boyfriend Jordan and I needed a break from the city, so we took a drive 2 hours north into the countryside. We stumbled upon a spot called Sable Hill, just past a fading wooden sign that read, "Not maintained." There were no cars, no people, just a wide grassy clearing that overlooked a deep valley and a stream. It felt like a secret place no one had touched in years, too peaceful. We laid out a blanket, unpacked sandwiches, and just sat under the sun. Jordan dozed off while I sketched the hills, but about an hour in, I noticed something strange on the slope across from us. A stone structure, like an old, well, sitting in the middle of nowhere. It hadn't been there when we arrived. At least, I didn't see it then. As I stared at it, I felt this subtle pull, like gravity, but quieter. I shook it off. Later, Jordan went to find a spot to relieve himself in the woods. He was gone for a while. I called his name, twice. He finally returned looking pale. When I asked if he was okay, he said, "I thought I saw someone watching us from the trees, but they weren't moving, like they were waiting. I wanted to leave then." He said we were overreacting. We should have trusted our fear. That evening, we stayed longer than we should have. The sun dipped, shadows grew longer, and the temperature dropped sharply. Then we heard it. A low hum, vibrating under the blanket and through the grass. Almost like a chant, but deeper, more like the earth itself was speaking. I lifted the corner of the blanket, and the ground beneath looked wrong. The grass swirled in tiny circular patterns, like it had grown in spirals. Jordan touched the soil and jerked his hand back. "Something's breathing under there," he whispered. Then we saw movement. Across the valley, near that stone well, a figure was standing there, dressed in black, long and lanky. It didn't move, even as the wind howled around it. We packed up in seconds. But when we turned to the path we came from, it wasn't there. The forest entrance had changed. Trees pressed in closer, the slope felt steeper, and the shadows twisted. Jordan said we should make a run for it. We didn't get far. About 50 feet from the clearing, he tripped over something buried in the soil. I helped him up and saw what he'd fallen on. Bones, a human jaw, teeth grinning from the earth. We sprinted back to the blanket like it was a safe zone, and that's when we noticed our phones. They were on the blanket, screens lit up, with photos we didn't take. Dozens of them, each one showing us, from behind, from the woods, from above. And in each one, the figure by the stone well was getting closer. We didn't sleep that night. We stayed huddled on the blanket, the flashlight trembling in my hands as the forest pressed in around us. The wind didn't howl anymore. It whispered in a strange rhythm, like breath behind the trees. That same low hum still pulsed under us, vibrating up from the earth like a slow heartbeat. Jordan began to change. At first, it was subtle. His voice flat, his words short. Then his skin grew colder, even though the air was still warm. Around 3:30 a.m., he started whispering things I couldn't understand. The language was guttural and wet, like he was choking on water and syllables. He turned to me and said softly, "It's not just a hill. It's an opening, a mouth." Before I could respond, he stood up and walked away, slow, steady, like he was in a trance. I chased after him, shouting his name, but he didn't look back. He moved down the slope toward the stone well that had appeared earlier. Except now, there were more of them, 3, maybe 4, surrounding the clearing like a ritual circle. The original one at the center glowed faintly from within, casting pulsing shadows on the grass. Jordan approached it. I grabbed his arm, screamed for him to stop, but his skin was stiff and ice cold. His eyes were blank. He smiled. That was the part that haunts me most. Not fear, not pain. Peace. He stepped up onto the edge of the well, looked down into it like it was showing him something, and jumped in. No hesitation, no noise, just gone. I ran to the well, sobbing, but there was nothing inside. No echo, no walls, just blackness, and a reflection, not mine, his. Then, the well vanished. All of them did, as if the ground rolled over them, smoothing everything out. The grass returned. The trees looked untouched. No bones, no photos, no sign of a picnic. Just silence. I staggered back to the clearing. Our blanket was gone. The car was missing. I spun in circles, screaming into the empty woods. Time bent around me. The sun wouldn't rise. It felt like hours. Or minutes. Eventually, without reason, the car appeared. Right where we left it. Lights off, keys in the ignition. I don't remember driving back. I only remember the silence and the shadows that followed us all the way home. It's been 3 weeks. Jordan is still missing, officially labelled a hiker who wandered too far and never came back. But at night, I hear the hum. Not outside. Inside me. In my bones. In my dreams. Sometimes I wake up with my feet muddy. Grass stuck to my skin. Like I've been sleepwalking. Like something is calling me back. And last night, I saw the blanket folded neatly on my porch, wet and humming. It was supposed to be simple. A weekend summer picnic with close friends. 6 of us. Me, Josh, my fiancé, Katie, her boyfriend Dylan, and our 2 college friends Leah and Marcus. We drove out to a lesser-known nature reserve called Hollow Pines, a place Katie found online. Quiet, green, barely touched. The trail was long, but scenic. We laughed, shared snacks, and finally found an open meadow that sloped down toward a thick tree line. A perfect, sunlit clearing. The kind of place that makes you forget time. We spread out blankets, opened beers, and put on music. Everything felt like a memory in the making, until Leah found the tree ring. About 20 yards from our spot was a large dead oak. Bark blackened, completely hollow in the center. Around it were small wooden carvings, half buried in the dirt. Tiny figures, some with no faces, some with arms raised like they were screaming. We thought they were some kind of folk art. We joked about a local cryptid, took photos. Katie even picked one up to keep. The music began to skip. Our phones glitched. Josh's speaker died altogether. That's when we noticed the air had gone still. Not just quiet, wrong. No bird calls, no wind. The trees around the dead oak almost seemed to lean in closer. We all felt it, and that night, none of us slept. Back at our Airbnb, strange things started happening. Katie's wooden carving was gone the next morning. She swore she left it on the kitchen counter. We tore the place apart. Nothing. That night, Leah said she woke up and saw someone walking through the backyard. A tall, bent figure with something in its arms. But the cameras we set up showed nothing. No movement. Just a flicker of static. Dylan tried to laugh it off, but he started developing deep scratches across his shoulders. He said it felt like he was being watched all the time, even in the shower. Then Marcus screamed in the middle of the night. We rushed into his room. His bedsheet was soaked, not with sweat, with mud and pine needles, as if he'd been sleeping in the forest. He begged to leave the next day, so we packed. But as we tried to drive out of the reserve, the GPS rerouted every time. Roads kept looping. Trees began to look too familiar. It felt like we were trapped inside something that didn't want us to go, like something was following us. We eventually found a gas station out on Route 19, far from where we should have ended up. The man behind the counter asked if we'd been near the old oak ring. Josh nodded. Yeah. Why? The man went pale. That land was cursed, been dead since the 1920s. A picnic group vanished out there once. No bodies, just their stuff. Folks say they disturbed a marker. I asked about the wooden carvings. He hesitated. They're warnings. Traps, some say. Once you take something from that place, it remembers. Katie fainted in the parking lot. When she came to, she whispered. It was in the hollow, watching. We never spoke about it again. We deleted the pictures, burned our clothes. Josh and I tried to forget. But sometimes at night, I still dream of the clearing, the silence, the bent figure walking between trees, holding the wooden carving I thought was gone. And always, always, it turns toward me, with no face at all.